if I had said to you folks 5 months ago, hey, we're working on another game, I think people would have been justified then in not only refunding even, more heavily, but looking at me like I was out of my friggin' mind. Because yes, this is a team that's really late. Now they're talking about making another game. Why should we believe them?
Huh. You know what? That's a good question. Hey everybody, it's Ziz here, and you might be wondering, why was Mark Jacobs, the guy who's making Camelot Unchained, just talking about making another game? Well, he did a huge, long, 3-hour live stream talking about this new game called Colossal, or actually Ragnarok, which is a game they've been making, which is a PvE game. But they're also making it in conjunction with Camelot Unchained. So there's a whole big bunch of stuff we got to talk about. We're going to go through the history of Camelot Unchained from the Kickstarter up till now. We'll look at the new game Colossal or Ragnarok and what kind of game it is. We got some footage we can look at. And then we're going to take a look at how that will impact Camelot Unchained. If it's going to help, like he said, or hurt, and then also a lot of people's reactions to it and why they're so upset, why backers of Camelot Unchained are so upset. And lastly, we'll look at if you want to refund, if you've backed Camelot Unchained, you can still refund. So we're going to take a look at how all that works. But we're going to start all the way back at the beginning of the Kickstarter for Camelot Unchained. And during the live stream, Mark Jacobs actually had something kind of interesting to say how all this started.
Lion2K asks, so when is the engine done to actually play the game promised? It's been 7 years.
Well, it hasn't been 7 years, first of all. We did the Kickstarter in May. We didn't start working on it until October.
All right, so two quick things about his statement there. One is that they actually started April 1st, not sometime in May. And from that time, from April 1st until the end of January, like the very last day of January, that's 6 years and 10 months. So trying to say it's not 7 years is really splitting hairs. But even weirder than that to me was, if you started the Kickstarter in April and he just said they didn't even start development until October, okay, whatever. That just seemed really weird to me. But if we go back, we started this Kickstarter, and for those of you who didn't play Dark Age of Camelot, we were so excited when Mark Jacobs said he was making a new PvP-focused game. Dark Age of Camelot is considered one of the very best PvP games of all time. MMO, TriRealm, and you'll see games like Guild Wars 2 and ESO also have 3 realms because it's trying to capture that nostalgia and it has a lot of great benefits. And maybe someday I'll talk about why these new games are failing compared to the old one. But for those of us who play Dark Age Camelot, we were so excited because this is like the best game we have ever played if you like that sort of open warfare PvP. And so he did the Kickstarter, raised a bunch of money, $2 million off Kickstarter, put in $2 million of his own, and he started making the game. Now, there were, unfortunately, a lot of delays, and you can even see if you go to Massively OP, which is a great website, by the way, and you just search Camelot Unchained delay, there are tons of articles and multiple different dates of which they have had delays. And one I found interesting was this comment. He said if they had delay after delay that he would start to be concerned. Now, through all of this, for years and years, Mark Jacobs has kind of held himself in a higher standard, said, I'm never going to lie to you, and we're never going to have microtransaction, cash shop and pay to win. And he's held himself kind of up on this pedestal as being, the bright beacon of hope for the MMO genre. And so it's very strange after almost 7 years that we find out he's making a different game in conjunction with Camelot Unchained. Now, he has a 3-hour long live stream. The actual announcement's about 30 minutes and then over 2 hours of answering questions. I'll have a link below. If you want to go watch the full thing, you can. But first thing, let's look at what this new game is. Codename Colossus, actual name Ragnarok something. Let's look at how that started and where it came from, according to Mark Jacobs himself.
Let me just say, We're not going out of business. We're not selling the company or CU or anything else to anybody else. We're not laying off people. It's nothing like that. It's just that what you're going to hear at first is going to surprise you. April 2019. I am running the Cherry Keep Siege. Some of you may have been in it. And I started bringing in NPCs. And that was kind of cool. And so we went from 1,000 to 18,000. And by then, some of you were literally losing your minds, saying some amazing things. Oh, this is like Total War plus, Camelot. And oh my God, this would be so cool if we could play this game.
All right, so sometime last year during one of the siege tests for Camelot Unchained, they were bringing in a whole bunch of NPCs and bots, and the testers were having so much fun with these hundreds and hundreds of bots. Their mind was just blown with how amazing it was, and so Mark Jacobs was compelled that he just had to make this game. It was just so amazing. They had to make it. They just had to do it. Now, what is it? It's a PvE based game where you choose a champion and you are defending a tower against hordes, hundreds and maybe thousands of monsters trying to swarm. And you and your friend and online, maybe dozens of people can defend this tower. Okay, I guess if you like that sort of game, I mean, it's completely different than Camelot Unchained, but sure, maybe. So let's take a look at how the game is going to be monetized.
As a buy-to-play game with obviously no lock boxes, no pay-to-win bullshit, we're going to be selling battle passes and stuff like that.
Are they cosmetic only? Are there power boosts?
Oh, pay-to-win stuff. You know me. No, it's all cosmetic stuff. Other champions as well. All the things that you would like to see, in a game that is growing.
All right, so this is going to be a buy-to-play game with a battle pass. Now, there's lots of games that have different versions of battle passes, so we don't know exactly how that's going to work. Whether or not that's going to be good or bad, that's kind of up to you to decide and for us to wait and see how they implement it. But remember, Mark Jacobs has been a staunch defender of the pay-to-win and cash shops and all these sorts of things. But they will have a cosmetic cash shop, and did you catch it right there at the end? He said you will be able to buy champions. When the game launches, they're looking to have 4 champions to start, but in just a moment we'll hear he's been thinking and planning for like over 30 more. So there's going to be lots of champions coming into the game, and you'll be able to earn them probably much faster if you pay for a battle pass, and even faster if you buy them through the cash shop. That's what he just said, you could buy them. Now, wait, are you telling me these new champions you're going to put in the game are in no way going to be more powerful than the ones that are part of the base game?
Right now, I wanted, Ragnarok to be Ragnarok. You name it. We've got races, religions, cultures, legends. I've spec'd out like 35 so far.
So supposedly this new game isn't taking too much time away from Camelot Unchained, but some of that stuff sounded like maybe it was. What about, I don't know, just the controls?
No plans for it to be on mobile at the present time. It is a PC game for now. We would like to port the engine to console. We've been talking to a couple of publishers about it. This is a game that's tailor-made for consoles. When we started doing this, I said that I wanted everyone, or almost everyone, to play on a controller. Because frankly, if you play on a keyboard at first, you then tend to make design decisions for that keyboard. And then it can be harder to port that game to a console. Whereas if you start with a controller, then you know what device you're going to be using on the consoles, but it's easier then to add more functionality for the keyboard. So,
Okay, so supposedly there was a test that was so mind-blowingly amazing, Mark Jacobs was compelled to make another game alongside Camelot Unchained. And he went and got millions of dollars from investors so he could make both games at the same time. And the new one is a PvE tower defense game that has all new lore and new art and new champions and is made based on a controller with the idea that it's going to be a console PvE cash cow But remember, this is almost, taking no time away from Camelot Unchained, right?
Is this a distraction in some ways? Well, of course. Again, to say anything else would just not be true. And again, I cannot stress that enough. All this stuff, almost all this stuff, really is for both games. I urge you, look at all the things you just saw and try to pick out what couldn't be used in CU.
Mark Jacobs really must have a good grasp and an idea of what's happening with Camelot Unchained, right? How far along they are and what else they need to do to actually get us the game we kickstarted almost 7 years ago, right? So why is everybody upset? What's going on to cause people to question this move?
A lot of people are asking about what percentage is the completion of Camelot Unchained.
We have not even tried to figure that out. That's not something we've ever done. That's not anything we are frankly going to do, because whatever number we give you will be wrong. But until we can get in, you guys can get in and start playing and iterating and telling us what we did wrong, then it really doesn't matter much. In terms of being able to play it, you've been playing it and you're going to play it again in February.
Okay, wait. After 7 years, you can't even give me a rough idea of how much of the game is finished? Right? I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off base here. Any activity I ever do in my life, I could at some point give you a rough idea of where I'm at in the process, right? I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. How done are you? Well, I got a couple pieces of bread and I got the jelly on there. Just got to do the peanut butter. I'd say I'm 70% done. That peanut butter's tough. You're taking a massive dump. How done are you? Oh, this is a big one. I'm only 20% done with this dump. I understand Camelot Unchained is a massive MMO doing stuff no other game has done, but from a professional who's been doing it for 7 years, you would think a rough idea, but he can't tell us how far along they are until they do testing and we give feedback. But wait, then he just said we have been playing and we have been testing. So didn't you just answer your own question? What is happening?
The money that we have spent in this period of time wouldn't have allowed us, even if we had gotten the extra people, it still wouldn't have allowed us to deliver CU today. We wouldn't be sitting here with, hey, we're almost done with CU.
So wait, now you're saying even if you had gotten these millions of dollars from the investors, which, by the way, we only got because we're making a PvE cash cow for consoles, but hypothetically, even if we had gotten extra millions of dollars and hired more developers and done all this work, we still wouldn't even be close to a launch for Camelot Unchained? I mean, no wonder he can't give us a percentage. But you know what? I'm sorry, let me calm down. I'm just a pleb. I make angry YouTube videos and I eat way too many cheeseburgers. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. I bet the people there who have an inside look, I bet they got a better idea what's going on.
Almost everybody said yes. And by almost everybody, it was really one person who didn't want to do it, so he left.
This isn't just one developer that left, though. Think this through. This is a person who works in this job to make money to survive. Most people wouldn't even speak out at their job. Most people wouldn't even say, I disagree with that, for fear of losing their job, not getting promotions, not having food to eat. But this person is so against the idea that they quit their job. And it's not just one person. We're not talking about Blizzard that has hundreds and thousands of employees, but if you've been following Camelot Unchained, you know that most of the delays, Mark Jacobs always blames it on the fact that they can't get enough developers. It's so hard to get developers, which is probably true because they live up in the middle of nowhere in the Northeast instead of, in California or Texas where all these developers are. But all the delays have been because they can't get developers. So they don't have a big team. So this one person leaving is like 5% of their development team. He's saying, I would rather not have a job and starve than do what you're doing. Other companies have even sort of tried this double development thing.
Why haven't other developers done this? Some have tried. It hasn't gone as well.
So Mark Jacobs acknowledges that other development teams and companies have tried this and it didn't work out very well. 38 studios. Do you remember EverQuest Next and the Landmark debacle? How about when they announced Diablo Immortal or Ashes of Creation when they said they were making a BR game? Or how about the very real example of Fortnite was originally a different game. They came out with a second game that got super popular, so the first game completely went away. Every one of these examples is bad. Honestly, I feel bad because Mark Jacobs has millions of his own dollars on the line. There are people's jobs on the line. This is a game that we all want, and I believed in Mark Jacobs and love Dark Age of Camelot. But every example that you can see of other studios doing this, at least the popular bad examples, right? The bad. I haven't seen any really good examples of this scenario playing out. But one good thing you could say is that this is the new game. Ragnarok is a PvE game, and it's not infringing on Camelot Unchained's territory, right? It's not like he's making another PvP game that he thinks will make more money and, you know, kind of shafting all of us people who backed CU. I mean, it's a totally different game, right? Right?
You know, you guys have faith in us to make a great CU game. And that's why this isn't a PvP game. That's why this isn't a raid-based, or not a raid-based, sorry, a TriRealm raid, somehow TriRealm raiding game where you're fighting, you know, other factions. Easy to do, like really easy to do. But that wouldn't be fair to the CU folks. So we figured doing this, fair to CU folks, fair to people who don't have any interest in RVR, but we will have modes just to show off the engine about what we can do, because that'll be fun as heck too.
Now I'm getting a little confused because I thought it was a totally different game, but it was going to not take away development time. And then it was a distraction and all the lore's different and the art's different and the characters are different and they're using a controller and it's going to go to console. Okay, but at least it's a PvE game, right? Well, it's, an engine demo? Or, no, it's still a game, but they can use it as an engine demo, what, to sell more games down the line? Okay, fine, but at least it's not a PvP game. Oh, wait, they could add a PvP mode in this game really easily? And Mark Jacobs sounds excited about that prospect? It seems pretty easy to understand why the backers of Camelot Unchained would be upset, right? I mean, can we all agree, whether you are upset or not, we can understand a little bit why some people might be upset about all this stuff. That's pretty easy, right?
What do you say to folks who are fans of Dayoc and CU who feel disappointed by this?
Be patient. Is there a reason to be disappointed? Honestly, I don't think so. But I think most of you, almost all of you, will be really happy.
Drestina wants to know, if someone is holding a gun to your head, why are you saying these awful things to me?
Don't think so. Why am I saying these awful things?
Yeah.
I don't. What awful things? Please elaborate. I don't know what's awful about saying you have a free game, sped up CU, improved performance, finishing off Linuxification, all that. So I am a little confused.
Yeah, Mark Jacobs, I am a little confused. I mean, why couldn't you at least have told us what was going on?
Now, why didn't we tell you before now, and why did we surprise you? Well, that's very simple. So, look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We have been sucky at deadlines. We just have been. if you think you've been deceived because we haven't told you about what we've been working on for 4.5 months or 6 months starting in July, but even then we were still doing, we hadn't really been doing any Colossus stuff yet, other than, producers doing, projections and stuff. We haven't lied, not once.
4.5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 7 years? I don't know. The producers were only what? Doing their job in producing a new game? But you want to say you haven't been lying to us because they weren't working on a new game?
I dare you to find another team out there who would have done and is doing for you guys what we are doing. Look at my foundational principles. Where have I said, or we as a team have done anything to erode that?
How about the foundational principles of making an RVR game?
I mean, if you go back to the Kickstarter, we said we'd keep offering refunds until we stopped work on CU. Well, we could have just said we stopped work on CU, and legally we'd be within our rights just to say, okay, we're done. But we didn't do that.
Mark Jacobs, can you please stop acting like the good guy? Because you didn't cancel Camelot Unchained and you didn't screw us out of all the money that we backed in the Kickstarter and take that tech to make a new, different game? Please, don't pretend like you're doing the good thing and being a good guy, okay?
If you think that somehow that's eroding of trust, you're welcome to leave.
I do think that's eroding of trust. So please show me where the door is so I can leave.
Well, look, we've said from the beginning, we're not turning off refunds.
Now, after all that, if you are still in support and you believe in this game, that's great. Don't feel bad. Just believe and hope it turns out great. And honestly, I do. I don't think it will, but I hope it does. I hope I'm totally wrong and Camelot Unchained is an amazing game and that's what I want. But if you don't believe in the project anymore, if you want a refund, they are still doing those. So go to CamelotUnchained.com, go to their FAQ section. They have a whole part there that shows you how to get a refund. You're going to email them at support@citystateentertainment.com. They're going to ask for your information, your PayPal ID. They're going to need you to email them from that email address. And I've already started that process. They've said it can take up to 90 days, so we'll see how long that goes. But I know lots of people have in the past gotten refunds, so that is an option for you. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is this not a problem? Do you think it's going to turn out fine? In fact, do you think this will help Camelot Unchained speed up its process? Or do you think Camelot Unchained could potentially be gone? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.